What if the very person who almost prevented the Savior's birth from finding a place to stay could teach us the most important lesson about God's timing and mercy? He was not a prophet. He was not a priest. He was not even a believer at first. He was simply an innkeeper in Bethlehem, a man whose heart had grown hardened by years of busyness, practicality, and routine. That night, the city was overflowing. Travelers filled the streets, searching for a place to rest. Every room, every inn, every corner of stone and wood was already taken. And then Mary and Joseph appeared at his door, the very couple carrying the greatest gift the world had ever known. The innkeeper's heart hardened. "There's no room," he said. Would he recognize this moment for what it truly was? Or would he let the Savior of the world slip through his fingers because of his hardened heart? The streets of Bethlehem were alive with movement, lanterns flickering along stone buildings, the smell of wood smoke and animals filling the air. Every room was full. Every room was crowded. Even the alleys echoed with the shuffle of weary feet. The innkeeper, middle-aged, Middle Eastern, hands calloused from years of work, and wearing a simple tunic and head covering, watched the city with practiced detachment. Guests came and went every day, yet tonight felt different. Mary, young and radiant with quiet faith, and Joseph, humble and strong, approached. In her stomach was the child she carried, the very Messiah of the world, the fulfillment of prophecy. The innkeeper shook his head. "There's no room," he repeated, voice steady but heart uneasy. He looked at Mary's calm eyes, Joseph's quiet determination, and felt a strange stirring in his chest. Something tugged at the edge of his hardened heart, a whisper he could not ignore. Joseph stepped forward. "Please, sir, we need a place for tonight, just a simple room." The innkeeper's gaze swept the inn, worn mattresses, the smell of straw, stacks of firewood, all ordinary. Everything seemed ordinary, but somehow this couple felt extraordinary. He opened his mouth to speak, perhaps to refuse them again, perhaps to send them away to the streets. His mind raced between practicality and the whisper of something far greater. The innkeeper paused at the doorway. His hands twitched, unsure whether to act or step back. The answer hung in the balance. Would he finally make room for the Messiah? Or would his hardened heart keep him from recognizing God's mercy? The first cry of the Savior would soon decide it all. The innkeeper's heart throbbed with a strange mixture of fear and awe. He stood frozen in the doorway, torn between the habits of his hardened, practical life and the gentle pull of something he could not name. The streets of Bethlehem outside were filled with chatter, carts, and the clatter of hooves. But inside, everything seemed to slow, as if time itself waited for his choice. Mary's eyes met his, calm, trusting, radiant. Joseph's grip on her shoulder was steady, silent encouragement, and in her arms rested the child whose very presence carried the weight of eternity. The innkeeper took a trembling breath. His mind raced with excuses. "The inn is full. There's no bed. There's straw, only straw." But the whisper in his heart grew louder, almost like a voice that had waited decades to be heard. "This is the moment you cannot miss." He stepped aside. "Please, come in," he said, his voice soft and uncertain. There's space in the stable. It's not much, but it's warm." Mary smiled, gratitude radiating from her, and Joseph nodded silently. Together they stepped past him, and he followed slowly, unsure whether to leave the warmth of the inn or witness what he already suspected would be extraordinary. The stable was simple: straw-covered floors, a low wooden manger, the scent of hay and animals heavy in the air. Yet in that humble place, a miracle waited. Mary gently laid the child in the manger, her hands steadied despite the enormity of the moment. Joseph adjusted the straw, ensuring the little one had a soft resting place. The innkeeper watched, his chest tight with awe. He had been standing at the threshold of a moment centuries in the making, a fulfillment of prophecy that he had never expected to witness. And yet here it was, God's mercy and timing revealed in the cries of a newborn. He knelt, unbidden, though he didn't fully understand why. His hands rested on his knees, his eyes wide, heart pounding, and in that quiet, ordinary stable, he felt the weight of his hardened heart begin to crumble. A soft glow seemed to emanate from the child, not just light, but peace, a calm that washed over him, over Mary, over Joseph, over the very air itself. The innkeeper realized that all the crowded streets, all the weary travelers, all the ordinary routines of life were secondary to this. The Savior of the world had arrived, and he had made room. Tears formed in his eyes as he whispered a silent prayer. Thank you for letting me see this, for letting me be a part of it, even if only as a humble witness. Mary looked up at him, her smile gentle and knowing. God's timing is perfect, she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of all that had come before. Joseph placed a hand on the innkeeper's shoulder, firm and grateful. Tonight, you've done more than provide a place, he said quietly. You've allowed the fulfillment of God's promise to touch the world. The innkeeper nodded, unable to speak. For the first time in years, he understood the profound truth. He could no longer let practicality, fear, or routine harden his heart against God's timing and mercy. Outside, Bethlehem continued its noisy rhythm, oblivious to the miracle taking place within. Inside the stable, however, heaven had touched earth, and a once hardened heart had finally opened to the light of God's faithfulness. And the innkeeper would carry the lesson with him forever. God's mercy often arrives when we least expect it. His timing is always perfect, and even the smallest act of obedience, opening a door, offering a humble space, can place us at the very center of a miracle. The innkeeper's heart was forever changed. He had seen the Messiah, welcomed him, and learned that recognizing God's timing is a choice, one that requires faith, humility, and the courage to open your heart. No trumpets, no crowds, no grand announcements, just a humble stable, a newborn child, and a man who finally understood that mercy waits for hearts that are ready.